Welcome to today's live stream. Today we're doing Security Plus Lab 19. We'll be implementing a secure VPN, I think using mostly Windows devices. Let's go ahead and jump into it. Again, if you have any questions, either put a chat in the chat window or email info@cyberkrafttraining.com. I'm happy to help you. All right, let's go ahead and get right into it. Okay, so this is Lab 19. We're going to implement a virtual private network. And again, we're using that notional sales team 515 support. We're going to be adding routing and remote access functionality, and we're going to configure the sales users on DC1 server. And then we're probably going to test the connection. So we have a few resources here. We have DC1, MS1, Kali, and then RT1 local. So we're going to go ahead and log on to DC1. All right, we're going to go to Tools, Active Directory, Users and Computers. Then we're going to go to Users. Okay, and here we're going to look at probably Bobby, I bet. Okay, no, we're going to create a new security group named Sales VPN. Okay, so we have users, we have security groups and users in our users folder here. So we're going to go Action, New, Group. Okay, and we can also do the same thing with user or group here. So I'm just going to go ahead and click that button. Either way to do it, name this Sales VPN. Group name, that's going to be fine. Make sure it's spelled correctly. I do invite you to type this out on your own. It does help you learn it a little better. We'll go ahead and keep that group scope to global and the group type to security, I believe. Yeah. Okay. Now we're going to find Bobby. So you can sort by name. Bobby's the third one. Open up Bobby. And then we're going to go to member of. And we're going to put Bobby probably into the same group. Yeah, we're going to put him into the sales VPN group that we just created. So we can just type in sales. We could also type in VPN. And we hit check names. Didn't find it. Let's do sales VPN. Should find it. Yep. And when it finds it, it puts in the same case that I typed it in as, and it also underlines it. Just like if you're emailing something in Microsoft Word or Office or Microsoft Outlook. Okay, so we have that. We're going to hit OK, and we're going to apply. And then Bobby is now added to the Sales VPN group. And we can close that out. All right, so we don't need this anymore. Now we're going to go back to Tools. Okay, Tools, Routing, Remote Access. This is where you get into creating a VPN using Windows Server Manager, which is what we're doing here. Now there's a couple of different tools. In the course, if you take my Security Plus course, I talk about OpenVPN. There's lots of different VPN providers, VPN software out there that you can use. But if you're using a Windows environment, this is going to be how you do it using Windows Server Manager. So this looks a little bare bones, and you might think maybe this isn't loading correctly, but it is how it looks. You're going to right-click on DC1. If it works here. Oh, it's thinking. Okay. Sometimes this can get a little slow here. Okay, so we're just we have DC1 selected. It's the way the instructions here say to do this don't match up with what you're supposed to do here. So you want to click on Direct Access and VPN, okay, and then you're going to get this option to start a wizard. All right, and what we're going to be doing is we're running a remote access wizard. Okay, so we're going to click this right here. Now it's going to start the wizard itself. Let's see. So we're going to do Now this doesn't really match up at all. I think these are older instructions that they kind of shoehorned in here. We're going to go ahead and select direct access and VPN, which should allow us to configure the VPN also, instead of just selecting VPN only. It's going to check this. And this may take a little bit. Okay, good. All right, great. All right. So now we can go ahead and select our remote clients, our remote access server, our infrastructure servers, etc. We have the internet as the interface, okay? We're gonna have to configure this, the remote clients. You can't just finish this. So this really doesn't correspond to what we're doing here. We're just gonna select the defaults here. Select one or more security groups containing client computers that will be enabled for direct access. We're gonna select the VPN, or the sales VPN. This is completely off here. I mean, this should be our MS1. So let's go ahead and find the IP address for MS1. We're really going off the instructions here, but that's okay. As long as we learn how to do this VPN, that's the main goal of the assignments here. Okay, 10.1.0.2. We need the public IP address. Oh yeah, we need the remote access server. That should be... Let's cancel this out and do it for just the VPN, because it's asking us to do a lot of remote access, direct access settings that we don't really need. So let's go back and do this one more time. That's the wrong one. Oh, here we go. Okay, I think what happened was I selected the wrong option here. I selected remote access management. You want routing and remote access. So when you took routing and remote access, you can select, you can now right click on DC1. Now, if you want to do it the other way, you can, okay? This is more for setting up remote configurations. So we can do VPNs this way also. Again, we would just do the access wizard. We deploy a VPN itself, and then here it comes out with the same options. So you get there the same way. So let's just go ahead and do the steps the lab is asking us to do exactly. But it's just two different ways to get to the same way. So from here, we can go right click, configure and enable remote access. And then we're just going to go dial up our VPN. Yep, now this is matching up. Okay. Or is it going to match up? And this is the reason why I do these, because sometimes they don't match up super well. We don't have the option to check our VPN here. Why is that? Oh, I see. Because we still have this task hanging. So let's just do it this way. Now we can select VPN. Because we had initiated it in the other method, we couldn't have gone through configuring this VPN connection because we were already configuring that somewhere else. So good to know. And sometimes doing the lab a little differently is a good idea. I want you guys to get comfortable with learning the tools, not necessarily following the instructions without understanding what's going on. So it's helpful to try this in a couple different ways. Okay, so from here we're going to have this. It's going to match up pretty well. We're going to go internet. We're going to keep that checked. Go ahead and hit next. We're going to go ahead and keep that at automatic. And then I think we keep everything as default here. Yep. Default, finish. And we're going to complete that wizard there. We've created a new policy here. And it asks us to verify this policy doesn't conflict with any existing policies, which is a good idea, generally. And it's going to do some configuration here, and then it's going to finish up. Okay, and now we have a green arrow pointing up, showing everything's working great. Okay, now the services have started here. And we can go right click properties on DC1 and we go to logging. And we can log all events. Hit apply. That's what it's asking us to do here. All right, now we have remote access logging and policies. Right click that, launch NPS. Network policy server opens up. And then we're going to go ahead and select the network policies node. And from here, we're going to, let's see. All right, what is the purpose or effect of the default rules? We have connections to Microsoft routing or remote access servers enabled. To deny access, connections to other access servers enabled. To deny access. So obviously, these are deny by default, which is a good security practice, okay? And it says right here, the two default policies deny, identify all inbound connections and then deny them by default. Okay, great. Now we can create a new policy, right click, hit new here, or we can do action, new, whatever you feel like. Right click, we're going to name this the sales VPN access. Sales VPN access policy. Type in network access server, we're going to select remote dial-up, VPN or dial-up. Select user groups. We hit next here. Yeah, we should hit next. On their conditions, we're going to specify conditions. We're going to hit user groups and add. Okay. We're going to add a group. And we're going to do sales VPN. Check the names. That's the group we created earlier. Sales VPN. Go ahead and hit OK. And that group is now one of the conditions. You have to be a part of that group to have this policy affect you. And we're going to set the access permission is granted. So if you're in that group, you have access. You will gain access. And then we're going to go ahead and hit next. Now we have EAP. Remember EAP? And this is where you can use some of your different protocols that we learned. Remember PEEP, EAP, CHAP, MS CHAP, and here we have them here. MS CHAP version 2, PAP, SPAP, CHAP. All these are listed here. Okay, so if you've been thinking about what are these actually used, or how are these actually used, you would use them for remote access or with VPNs. And this is where we're actually going to be using these protocols here. Okay. Or check out my video if you want a refresher on the different acronyms and what all those need. All the authentication protocols are in that video. Okay, so let's see. We can pick different EAP types, and I think for this one we're not going to be configuring EAP. We can pick PEEP, protected EAP, EAP, MS Chat version 2. What is it asking us to do? It's asking us to do check encrypted authentication CHAP and leave MS CHAP and MS CHAP version 2 boxes of their default. All right, so ideally you don't want to use those. You want to use something like EAP or EAP MS CHAP version 2. Using these are older protocols that are less secure. Okay, so if we're going to leave these by default, which isn't ideal. That's not what you want to do. You want to use some form of EAP here. A smart card would be really good too. If you can add some biometrics on that smart card, that'd be fantastic. Okay. We're going to go ahead and keep the defaults. It could just say keep the defaults. Oh, we do want to enable chat. That's the only thing we want to enable also. Okay. We go ahead and hit next. We could set an idle timeout, and a lot of organizations will require you to have some sort of session timeout. This one, we're just going to leave the defaults on there. You can even restrict VPNs to access only to a certain time. This can help prevent or mitigate the threat of insider threat, to prevent people from logging on or establishing a remote connection, say during the middle of the night, like between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. when outside of normal work hours. If you restrict that access then you can prevent somebody from logging on, downloading files when most people are offline. Can be a useful policy there. All right. So we're just going to keep all of these as defaults, though. We can set up radius as well. Set up radius clients if we have a radius server. But we're not doing that here. In the MPS console, select accounting. We haven't got there yet. Oh, no, that's fine. We have to finish this policy out first. Okay. There's our policy, sales VPN access. It's enabled, and it's going to be enabled for that group. Okay. So in the MPS console, we're going to select accounting, and then we're going to configure accounting using this button here. Okay. It's going to open up the wizard, the MPS accounting configuration wizard. And then we're going to configure this log file to save as a text file on the computer here. So we're going to log to a text file on the local computer. You can also log this to a database, SQL database, or even an SQL database and a text file. Now, when you have lots of logging, text files can get kind of cumbersome. They can take up a lot of storage space. So if you have a larger organization, you're probably going to have some sort of log or archive management, some sort of auditing management, or it would point everything to the SEM, or something like Splunk. But we're not doing that here. We're just creating a very easy text file. We're going to go ahead and hit next. Display. What answer displays the path to the log files? Anybody have an answer for this one? Number 22. Right, yeah, you can see it right here, okay? Windows System 32 log files, Windows System 32 log files. Great, okay. And we're gonna select everything to be logged in there. authentication request, accounting request, all of that. Okay. All right, so everything's set there. Now we're going to configure the VPN client. We're going to use MS1 as the VPN client. So we're going to go ahead and switch to MS1. And I got to log off because I logged in with the default settings. So I'm going to select other user here, and then I'm going to sign in using Bobby. Bobby, our intrepid 515 support specialist. We're going to sign in using Bobby, so we're signed in as Bobby. Now remember, we already configured the account Bobby to have access to this VPN, so we should theoretically have VPN access. Okay. Let's see. We're going to select the networks icon. Network settings, VPN. We're going to add a VPN connection here. And this would be the same method that you would use with any Windows client, not only Windows Server 2019. We're a VPN provider. It's going to be Windows. Okay. We're going to enter the sales name the connection name has to be the same as what we entered before. Okay. This is the VPN of DC1. And we can check that here. 10.1.0.1. Same as what we're doing here. That's what we're typing in right here. And then we're going to select the VPN type as automatic. Username is password. And then we're going to select a username. We can type it in 515 support /Bobby. This would be, remember our username is Bobby, and we're part of that 515 support. So that's why we get that. And then the default password is used for everything. You don't have to type these in, but if we want this to remember our sign-in info, we'd want to type it in there. Okay. Now we can connect to the VPN, but I think we have a few more settings to do. Let's see. Settings window. Select the link for change adapter options. Let's see. We should just be able to click this. Let's see, change adapter options. We can go right click properties, and we could do the same thing. That's fine. There's a couple of different ways to do this, so we'll just play along with the lab. VPN, change adapter options. Right click on Sales VPN, go to properties. Okay, and then we're going to go to security, I bet. Yep, and we're going to enable the protocols that we allowed. So allow these protocols. Let's see. Allow these protocols. We're going to enable chat because we did allow, we allowed for chat when we set up the VPN connection. So we got to put chat in there. What else do we have to put in there? MS Chat version 2, that's set up. Yeah, automatically use my Windows login and password. And that should be good. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and hit OK. Yeah. Now remember, we don't. PAP and CHAP are older protocols, are not nearly as secure, and it's telling us that. It's telling us that we're not going to have encryption, but we're going to go ahead and keep those settings. Okay. Now we could right click on this and hit connect. Okay, we can also go to a couple of different ways to connect. We're going to connect to the Sales VPN. It's going to connect now. And then we can see this connection if we go to our logging. Let's see if the connection goes through successfully first, though. All right, completing the connection. That's a good sign. All right, looks like it's connected. So now we can go back to DC1. And then we should go to the remote access clients node. There we have remote access clients, and it was 0 if you notice. Now it's 1, and the username that we have connected is Bobby, and here's the duration, and that duration is going to continue to increment. So we do see an active VPN connection. Now we can also see this in the log files, and I'm sure we're going to look at the log files here in a moment. If not, we'll go look at them manually. Okay, and then we can go ahead and connect and disconnect. We're going to disconnect from the VPN. Now let's go back to DC1. We're going to go to Tools and Event Viewer. Straight from Server Manager, Tools, Event Viewer. And then from here, we should have some different types of logs. Okay. But we can just look at the system log. And here we see remote access. The user 515 support/Bobby connected to the port, this port at 10:45 a.m., which was 2 minutes ago, and disconnected at 10:46 a.m. The user with this IP address, 10.1.0.105, which is Bobby, has disconnected. So we see that event there. And we should have event ID 2000. We don't have that same event ID, but that should be this one. Oh, wait, no. We have an older event ID here. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the user 515 support/Bobby connected to this port has been assigned this IP address, 10.1.0.105. So VPN connection. All right, anybody want to take a stab at this one? This is going to be event 20275, which is this one right here. Right. Disconnection. Yep. And we see that right here. This IP address, which is Bobby, has disconnected. Yep. All right, then we have 20272. Which of the following events best describes the information? And this would be, right, the summary. So we have a connection, a disconnection as summary. So they try to switch these up. I mean, it's going to be pretty clear. You got the connection, the summary, and then the disconnection. You know, they occur in order. They try to mix this up a little bit. But we can see, the important thing is we see these events happening on our end. Okay. Oh, now we're going to be using Nmap. All right. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to go ahead and log into Kali with root and password. And then we're just going to do a simple Nmap scan on DC1. And we should see a port that's open there. Which of the following ports is the OpenVPN port displayed in the Nmap results? Anybody remember what OpenVPN would be? Okay, great. Yeah. Right here, 1723, OpenVPN. Now, some of these won't make sense. If you look, we don't even have 22 on there. 53, we know that's DNS. 80 is HTTP. So this is the only one that makes sense here. The questions on the exam are going to be a little harder than this one, but you do need to know your port numbers. And if you haven't yet, go check out my ports protocol reference sheet on cyberkrafttraining.com. You get a free download. Has all the ports protocols. None of the ones you don't need to know, only the ones you do need to know for the exam. Okay, great. All right, let's do these comprehensive questions. First one, which of the following answers best describes the purpose of NPS policies? All right, remember those NPS policies. These are the policies we created here. Okay, what are the purpose of those? Remember, we created that new policy with sales VPN access. Now, a couple of these, I got some people saying 1 or 2. All right, I got more on 1. And that's, 1's a little better answer than 2. I can see why you'd want to say 2. Because what we did here is we authenticated Bobby, and we authenticated, well, we didn't authenticate him, but we created a policy that would allow him access, that would allow him VPN access. So it's not quite worded correctly, okay? That's not everything that the policy they can do. The best answer would be to allow administrators to define VPN connection criteria, because we can define not just specific users or security groups who are allowed access, but we can also define time of day. Remember, I mentioned that different criteria outside of just users. So that's why this would be the best answer. These are both correct. This is more correct. All right, in the tasks above, what criteria was used by MPS to determine who is allowed to establish a VPN connection? This one's pretty easy. This was the group membership. That was the sales VPN group that we created. So it's a pretty easy question. All right, which service authenticated the VPN connection? What do you guys think? Which service authenticated the VPN connection? That's an interesting question, huh? Was it IIS, DNS, routing, remote access, or Active Directory? Okay, I'm getting 1s and 2s here. Okay, now this is a tricky one because we created this group through routing and remote access. Well, we created the group first, then we configured the VPN through routing and remote access. But Active Directory is always going to do that authentication. Active Directory is what's being referred to perform the authentication. So remember, we created that group way back in the first step using Active Directory users and computers. All right. So that's what's doing the authentication piece. That's a tricky question. I see why a lot of people got tripped up on that one. But yeah, so that's a VPN. That's a basic VPN in a nutshell. We managed it here through DC1, okay? And then we allowed a user to connect to that VPN into this this server. Now you can use this to establish a site-to-site VPN. You can do a remote access VPN. Remember the difference between those? A site-to-site VPN would create like a local area network over a distance. You maybe have a Chicago office, a New York office, and you want them to share files and share a drive. They can do that with a site-to-site VPN, or this is more an example of a remote access VPN where we have Bobby connecting remotely to the server. Okay, so he's establishing a one-on connection there. I hope this was helpful, and thanks so much for joining me today. Great job with the lab. And if you're looking for any Security Plus training, check the links in the description. Check out my video course, my Security Plus course that comes with the official CompTIA Learn Labs environment. Also, I have live training classes that I run every month. So if you're interested in earning your Security Plus certification, take my course. You're guaranteed to pass on your first try. Or we're going to pay for another voucher attempt. The course comes with a voucher, comes with all the official CompTIA materials. You get all of my custom material. Basically, when you enroll with us, you're going to pass the exam. That's our guarantee. But thanks a lot.